Hope you guys had a great weekend. Uh, so in our last class, we discussed how cascading dropdown works and what exactly does it contribute in terms of UI features in Pega application is something which we understood. We created a couple of drop downs and we sourced them as well, right? Using data page as well as report definition, we sourced them and we used them. And we understood how exactly a user interface can be modified to accommodate cascading drop downs. In the sense, based on the first drop down, we populated the next drop down using this feature. Perfect. So that was done and understood. So today we are going one step ahead and we are trying to learn one new concept in Pega, which is called Obj-Save. What is Obj-Save? Before we jump into this thing, let us consider our standalone day-to-day example, right? Whenever someone gives you his contact, what do? We type the number. For example, if I give my contact 84821999369, you type that number. But after that, you also have to do something, right? You have to give a first name, last name, and then what do? What do we do once we give the name and we have put the number? What is the next action we take? We save it, right? We save it, exactly, right? Why do we save it? Because we know tomorrow if I have to look up for this contact, I should have saved it now. Just by dialing that number, the the phone is not going to understand that you want to save it, is it? It is not going to understand, right? Do we agree? So if you want to keep it for good, like tomorrow after 1 month, if you want to open that and to be able to see, you have to save it somewhere. In a phone, we save it to the phone memory or the SD card, the phone number. But applications don't operate like that. Applications do have something called as a database under which they save everything. Didn't we see that? Yes or no? We saw that there is a data schema and a rule schema and there is a work table under which data was getting saved. Have we seen that? Right? So enterprise applications, when they are built, their data gets saved onto database. In the same way, when you're trying to do a certain processing, for example, if you're using Amazon, next time, for example, if you ordered a Ray-Ban sunglasses on Amazon, next time when you log in, by default, Amazon shows you, hope you are enjoying this particular product. If you still like it and if you want to order more, there are these other suggestions. How is it able to do that? Because it has saved your last transaction and it understands that you liked this product. So it is telling you, based on that, whatever they had saved, they are able to suggest you, hey, last time you had ordered this. Why? Because they already saved this thing. So whenever you open it, they can show you that. Similarly, in Pega also, when you try to do a certain processing, you are supposed to save the data. Why? Because you will need it later. For example, if you call up your internet service, let us say you have a Wi-Fi internet service and it was not working, and you call them up and you raise a issue. What will they do? They will tell, thank you for raising this issue. This is your case ID is what they will tell. Again, when you try to call and follow up, they will tell you, okay, for you are Mr. So and so. This is your case ID. These are the details. Your line was not working from this time to this time. How are they able to do that? Because when you gave them the details as part of that case, they have saved it. Similarly, we have to do the same thing for our application. In our auto insurance application, we are not performing any explicit save. Right now we are creating cases. If you see, we created cases, but nowhere we are telling save this thing, right? As part of this transaction, we are not telling please save the data in a certain table, right? There is no explicit table under which we are saving the data. Are we? Have we done that? How to save certain data? Did we do that? We haven't done that. Though we saw that data was appearing on clipboard page and these case IDs by default are getting saved in database, but there is no explicit separate table where we are trying to capture, for example, customer information. We are not capturing this in a separate table, right? We don't have a separate table under which we are capturing customer information. Yes or no? Do we have any data type for customer under which we are capturing the customer information? Did we create one? We haven't done. We haven't captured this. Neither have we captured anything for personal vehicle information, right? For example, if I give here and something and then mail Karnataka, this is the drop down which we developed, right? I can do this, but I'm not capturing this in a separate table under which I can have all the customer details segregated. I'm not doing that. As of today, we are not doing that. Today, we are trying to understand how exactly can we achieve such functionality. If you see, neither the customer details, which was my previous screen, nor the personal vehicle details we are capturing anywhere. We are not capturing this explicitly in a separate table. Everything is getting wrapped up into this particular case ID and into the PZPV stream, the work objects information, but we are not capturing it separately. Yes or no? So one thing to understand precisely is, so let us say this is the application we are working on, right? The Pega app or PRPC app or auto insurance application app is what I'll call it. Perfect. So let us say this is, do we understand what this box stands for? This is where I'll be creating my work object, right? We are running the customer flow and we are creating work object C hyphen 9001, let us say, is the work object. And as part of this, I am giving first name, last name, right? And also what I am giving age, email, right? Let us say we are also capturing the customer's ID. Okay. Let us say we are also capturing customer's ID. So today what is happening when you are doing this, we are seeing that this data is going to database via clipboard. We can also see the data on clipboard, right? Because this is the interface in between application and database. Yes or no? And we can see the data on py work page. For the work class py work page, we are able to see that data. Yes or no? Yes or no, guys? Right? Today this is happening. Can we confirm that? Yes, we can confirm. Right? In DB, we are saving in the data schema. The py work page details are going and sitting in the data schema. If you see, for example, if we go back to this particular work object 8004, now I can access the clipboard and I will see that there is a py work page which is sitting here where these details are present. Py work page, if you see, first name, last name are on py work page, but I don't have a separate table right now. This is sitting in, you know, the work table. What is my work table, guys? How will I know what is my work table? How will I know what is my work table? Very good. So I can get that from here. I can do test connection and I can get that from here. If you see, today we are just, by default, Pega's nature is whenever you create a work object, it saves the data in the work table, right? If you go and access your work table, you should be able to see that. Yes or no? Yes or no, guys? Right? If I run this, I will see all the work object information, right? And if I say uh, order by px, create date time descending. I'll see the first record as the one which we created. See 11:11. Today is 11:13. Yes, see, if you see 8004, 8005. What is the work object you are looking at? 8004. Sir, no, we gave Vishwas and Nayak. But for example, if I want to get the customer information, right now, if you see, this is in the work table. This is in the work table. There is no explicit table for customers. For example, if I want all the customer information from somewhere, I won't be able to get it. Why? Because it is not, I don't have a separate table under which I am capturing it. Yes or no? Yes or no, guys? See, if you see here, all these values are there, but this is along with most of the other values and it is under the work table. But how do we get this data explicitly, or how can we map it to a different table and perform a obj save is something we are looking at today. Today, the takeaway from today's class is understanding what is obj save all about. Obj save is a method in activity. If you remember, we worked on activities, right? We created pages, removed pages, we did obj browse. Do we remember? Obj save is a method in activity. Why would we use that? To insert and update records into database table. To insert a new record, for example, you might be going and enrolling into the Aadhaar in the local system, right? And whenever you try to enroll, you are a new record which is going to get inserted in the Aadhaar database. In Aadhaar database, there will be a table for tracking this purpose. In that, there will be a new record which is going to get inserted. For that, we'll be using Obj-Save, and also you can update. For example, if your phone number got changed, you have to go and update that. To update that, we'll be using Obj-Save. So what we are trying to do today using Obj-Save, we want to do some custom, save onto a different table from py work page. What all I want to do is I want to save it in a customer table. Customer table. I want to save it in customer table and then perform the obj save here. I want to perform obj save, and the table should be updated with first name, last name, age, email, and stuff like that. Customer ID, stuff like that is what I want to update to this page. I want to write it to, while it is going onto the clipboard page, I want to be able to pull the data into customer table as well, and through that table I want to perform obj save and save it to the database. This is what we want to achieve today. So let us see how exactly can we do that. Okay, so to do that, all we are trying to do today is we are trying to insert some data into the database, and we also want to handle that using a separate table. So the customer details we want to insert into a separate table. To do that, let us try to create one customer table. So to do that, what we will do, as usual, right? We will be creating a data type. For customer, we don't have a data type. Do we have one? We don't have, right? Do you see any specific data type for customer table? No, right? Perfect. So let's start with creating a data type for customer table. So let me call it add data type. From the Explorer, there is data types. There I can come and click on data types, click on this drop down, choose add data type, and then we can say customer table. Okay, I am creating a customer table. I want this to be part of alpha auto insurance. Okay, from the class mapping I want to keep it under alpha hyphen data. So I'll remove the rows because the customer information can be at the organization level and can be saved and utilized at the organization level. Perfect. So I say submit. So I just, all I have done so far is created a customer table. Now let us try to add fields, right? Let it get populated and then we'll add some fields. What fields do I need? I need a customer ID. Why? As we know, every data table will need a key. Yes or no? We did that, right? We select the key, right? Let us say this also needs a key, customer ID, and then I will say the first name, right? And then let's try to save few more values. Last name, and I will say city, and let's say age, and I'll say this age has to be integer. All we are doing is just creating. This is something which I've already done. So if you look at it, nothing new here. This is something which we have already done. Let us save this. Also, we have to select a key for this table. So let me go to records, click on configure source. I'll see my properties. Along with that, I'll see few other properties. These are out of the box properties which Pega adds. I want the customer ID to be my, key, because that will be unique. Customer ID will be unique, right? If you go to any store also, your customer ID will be something which will be unique. It is like, yeah, even when you try to shop on Amazon, you will have a unique, ID for yourself. That's how you can use it. Perfect. So now I will submit it and I should get a close after this. Perfect. This is done. I have to scroll here, I guess. Okay, close. So we were able to add these properties. Now, if you see, the order doesn't look proper for us. It's like age, city, last name, first name. It's looking like this. So what we will do, we'll try to rearrange them. To rearrange this, you just have to click on actions and say edit columns. I want first name after customer ID. Come on. What's wrong with this guy? Okay, and then I want the last name. Perfect. This looks good. Customer ID, which is required because that is the key. See, and then first name, last name, agent, city. Pretty straightforward, nothing fancy here. So all we have done so far is created a table, a data type, and added this particular stuff. Let us save this. Right now, let us see. Do we see any records here, guys? Are you able to see any records here? No, no items, right? Very good. Just remember that. Okay. Now let us. The Obj-Save is a method, and methods can be accessed only from activities. Haven't we seen that already? We have created few activities and we have seen already that, right? If I open technical activity category from my work class, you will see the parent activity and the child activity which we have created. Yes or no? We use the, call, branch and queue to understand how activities are called. Yes or no? Did we do this exercise, guys? Creating a new page and then calling all this and performing a property set to understand how the call goes and comes back. We did this, right? Yes or no? Perfect. So we have familiarity with activity. This is a rule which we have already seen. And to fetch stuff also we did obj browse from here, right? We did obj browse and we fetched records. Do you agree? Yes, no? Okay. So similarly, to use Obj-Save also we will need a activity. Let us try to create a activity here, and to let's try to test out how Obj-Save is performed. I'm creating a new activity under technical category of my work class, and I can call this anything like customer save activity. Okay. Customer details we are trying to save, so I'm calling it cust save activity, part of auto insurance application under the work class. Create and open. Perfect. We are here. Now, where does my customer table lie? Or I need a page which belongs to the table under which we are trying to capture the customer information. Where are we trying to capture the customer information? Customer data table, right? So I can create a page called customer details or something like that. Uh, Details, and I want this as part of the table, so I can say I can choose the table under which this customer table is created, right? I can say alpha. See, I'm able to find it here only. Alpha data customer table. Yes or no? So this is a holder. What is a page? Page is something which holds single value properties. Yes or no? Exactly similar to PY work page. When we did pages, didn't we understand what a page is? Yes or no, guys? Yes, no. Perfect. So all I have done is I have declared a page. I created a data table through a data type for customer table, and then I came to work class, created an activity. Nothing in that, just declared a page which I want to use. And I want to ideally first start with creating that page. To create a page, what will I use? What method will I use? Page new, right? Page new is a method in Pega under activity which you can use, and you can create a new page. What should be the name of that? The name I have already given in the pages and classes, customer details. All I have said here is, hey Pega, can you create a new page which is of type alpha data customer table? That's what this is doing. Nothing fancy. We did this already. We have seen this. If you visit my activity class, you can see what exactly we are talking about. And I'll also add a page remove. To remove the page, what will we use? There is something called as page remove, which you can use. This will remove the page from clipboard. I will say some more details, and description you can write something, right? You are creating a page, that's okay. For now, let's keep it as it is. So all we have done so far is we are creating a page through this activity. And now what we will do, before we perform save, ideally we will have to set those properties. Sorry. Okay. So I'll ask you one simple question. When we are looking at the property set, so when we created the work object, where was this data setting right now? When we create work table or PY work page on clipboard, we are able to see in PY work page. Yes or no? Are we able to see these details on PY work page, guys? When we are creating the work object, right? So what we are trying to do here is, as part of this activity, from that PY work page, we want to pick up the values we want to save onto our table, set them here, and then we want to perform obj save. That's what we are trying to achieve. Let us see how we are doing it. We'll come back here again and map and understand, have we done that here? Okay. So I am doing a property set. Property set is used to set some properties. So customer details, what all properties does customer details have? All the properties we have declared here is something which customer details will have, right? Because that is of type this. So it will have customer ID, first name, last name, age, and city. Let us verify that. Now my context is this page, customer details, that is my page. When I click dot, am I able to get all those properties? Yes. Does it make sense how we are getting those values here or the properties here? So if you see the diagram, what we are doing, we are going to extract the properties from PY workpage and values for the properties on PY workpage, and we are going to set it here. So the PY workpage can be accessed under the values by calling primary. Whenever you are trying to use, you know, a specific page in steps, then you can, because this is being created under work class, the primary page is PY workpage. Primary is nothing but PY workpage in this particular context. So now here, what I want to save for this particular customer ID is the work object ID, the C-800100. That will be my customer ID which I want to save. So I will look for the property. It is a property with the name PYID. Yes or no? Haven't we seen PYID before, guys? I will show you again, don't worry. So going back to recents, let me open the work object. 8005, come down and understand here. So if I do control F PYID, are we capturing the work object ID as PYID, guys? Right? And all those values are available here. The first name, last name, all these values are available here. So we are using the same PY workpage to capture those values on customer table. What we are saying here is, hey Pega, create me a page called customer details, and on every property of that, pick the property from PY workpage and map it to this, is what we are saying. That's the only thing we are saying here. I can say this dot first name. Where can I find my first name now? Primary. Hi. Sure. It's a data page. It is under the data class, right? Yes or no? Alpha hyphen dev data hyphen customer table. It's a data page. Last name. Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can do that. Too much noise from your side. Yes, we can do that. Doesn't make sense though. To do that itself, Pega has already given you something called as keyword, a keyword called primary. It's like you are having a number keypad to your home, and also you have a key, separate key also. Those who have number keypad, they can use number keypad and come. Can they use key also? Yes, they can use key also, but they have shared the passcode with you so that you can go inside without using that. Does it make sense? Perfect. Okay. Last name. And what else do we capture? Age and city is what I guess. Dot age primary dot age city. Save this. All we did here is only two steps we have created. We are saying, Pega, can you create me a page? Through this activity, we're asking Pega, we're passing instructions to Pega and saying, create me a page called customer details, which is of type alpha data customer table. Okay. And if you see in the customer table, we have defined few properties. We want to set those properties. But where will I find values for that? The values are in my PY work page, right? When I'm trying to create a work object, the values are in my PY work page. Yes or no, guys? The same values I'm picking and I'm setting it here. What we have to understand is this is a placeholder, a variable. This is the value which is going and getting set to it. It is exactly similar to if you have done algebra in your 8th, 9th, 10th, when x is equal to 2, y is equal to 4, like that. Here, this is x and this is the value. What is this value? This value is something when you're trying to run the work object, whatever value is there for that POID, the same thing will get passed to this. Yes or no? Whatever first name you give, that should be passed to this. Whatever last name you give, that should be passed to this. Age you give should be passed to this. City you give should be passed to this. Does it make sense, guys? So, and through the PY work page, we are fetching those values. So, with that, we are setting these values. That should be our understanding. Has that been understood? Yes or no? Okay, perfect. Once these two steps are done, now I do have the values which I want. But like it's as good as this is as good as typing the phone number in your phone and giving the name. That is done. What is the next step we do after giving the phone number, after typing the phone number and taking the name? Yes, right. So the next step is save. What is the topic today we are trying to cover? Obj hyphen save, right? Do we see that method here? Obj save. See, just click that. And where are these values? These values are on my customer details page. I want to save this particular page onto the database. That is what I want to do. Make sense, guys? So let me click save. Only three steps here. Create, creating new page, we already knew. We did that in our previous activities. Property set also we already knew. To set some values to properties is what we are using. These values are there on my clipboard. From that clipboard I'm picking and I'm saying save it on this particular properties. That's what I'm saying. Other than that, only one extra step we have done, that is Obj-Save is what we have called here. That's the only step we have done so far from what we have already covered. Other concepts all we have already covered. Right now we are just using this particular save. But your question will be, okay, we created this activity, but where are we going to call this? From where are we going to tell? For example, you should be telling Pega to call this from somewhere, right? For example, if you are when you are filling these values for the user, you should, after filling that, maybe after submit or somewhere, you should be calling this. Yes or no? Only then Pega will be triggering that activity. Do you agree? We have to call it somewhere. If you don't call it, how will Pega know that this activity exists and it has to be called to save? It's like, when do you have to click on save in your, when you try to type the phone number and the name? Not first, but after doing everything, you have to hit the save button. You have to perform that action. Only after you perform the save button action, that the data will go and sit into your phone memory or the SD card. Yes or no? The same thing can be achieved in Pega on flow actions. If you remember this particular, if you're not asking any questions, you can stay on mute, please. Okay. So now we created this activity. Now we need to know where exactly we need to call it. So every flow has the flow action mapped. Yes or no? If you see, if I open the flow and the connector going out from the assignment, I have mapped my flow action there. Yes or no? Customer flow action. Right? This is the flow action which contains my section. Do we agree? This is the customer detail section which we are calling when the flow is reaching that particular assignment shape. Perfect. So here flow action gives you that capability. Under flow action, there is a tab called action. explaining you again how did we reach here. So we agree that we are trying to execute this particular flow to create work objects. And we also understood that every green rectangle which looks like this is an assignment shape. This is a shape where user performs any action. Anything assigned to user has to happen on the assignment shape. And the connector leaving out from that assignment shape will have a flow action mapped to it, which we have done. If you go back to my flow actions class, you'll be able to recollect this. We mapped this flow action. Flow action is a container for section. Have we seen that, guys? So when you enter a flow action and when you leave a flow action, you can perform certain actions. See, if you open the action tab of a flow action, you will see pre-processing. In the sense, what do you want to do before you reach this screen? Before customer details section is rendered, what do you want to do? Do you want to perform any operation? You can run an activity there to set something, set some value or something. But today we don't want to do that. We want to do something when the customer leaves this section, right? After he has filled everything, when he's moving to personal vehicle information, that is when we want to do something. Yes or no? We want to save it on that juncture. We want to save this particular details. Whatever details are there, we want to save that data. The data is first name, last name, customer ID, and age and city. I want to save that data on my customer table data type. Yes or no? Perfect. So let us try to see. So if you come to the flow actions action tab, there is a pre-processing and post-processing. Post-processing is the place where you can specify your activity. If you just click on dot and say drop down, you will see customer save activity. Am I able to find this? Is this the activity which we created? See, I can open it. It is bringing me here. Coming back again. From your flow, there is a assignment shape under which we have configured the customer information, right? That is a flow action which is holding that section. If I open the connector, I should be able to go there, right? See, this is the flow action. And from this flow action, you can also access that section, the section where all the customer information is available. Once these details are provided, we can perform certain actions. Flow actions gives us that capability. The question will be, we want to save and do certain post processing after a user has provided some details. How can we do that? Yes, we can do it. From the flow action, there is an action tab under which you have post processing, where you can do bunch of stuff. Today we are trying to understand how we can do post processing using activity. So all we are doing today is in post processing, we are accessing the post processing and then we are saving the customer information onto customer table. A separate table is created. We are extracting data from the transaction or work object and we are saving it to customer table. We are trying to do that. Let us see if that goes through. So before we do that, okay, let us see if we can succeed in doing that. So all I did was called that activity. The activity which I created, I called it from the flow action. In the entire journey today, what we have done, we have created a data type, customer table to capture that information, created an activity. In that one additional step, Obj-Save I have added. All the other steps you already know what we are trying to do here. Everyone with me, guys? Perfect. So let us try to create another flow today, 9001 or something like that. Okay, I think I've saved the flow action. I'm trying to execute a new flow. Before we do that, let's also verify customer table. Do you see any records here, guys? Under customer table, are you able to see any records here? Perfect. Perfect. So let me try to run this flow. This should give me a 9001. Now let us go and see. Still, you shouldn't have any records here. Why? Because you have typed the phone number or anything, but you have not saved it. 9001. I will say Shanti mail Karnataka Mysore. Okay, and let me say submit. Okay, now I performed the operation. I submitted the details. Let us come back to customer table. Okay, can I refresh this? Yes. Does it make sense, guys? Now your details are not just bound to PY work page or work table. You have an explicit table. Someone asks you, I want the list of customers who have created cases in past 7 days. I can run a query on this table and I can send that, right? Yes or no? Explicitly, we have extracted the data from a transaction and saved it onto a separate table for customers. Do a test connection. See where it is mapped to. It should have a separate table map. PR alpha data customer table. Yes or no? This is the table which it is mapped to. Now I can, come on, Control C, go to database, and also I can verify from data dot Control V. Does it make sense, guys? We were able to extract the information from a transaction. You can do it for any banking transaction. When the banking transaction is happening, you want to extract the customer details explicitly and save it into a separate table. You can query this table anytime and you can find whatever cases are whatever customers are available for this particular application. Yes or no? See, customer IDs are being captured here. Their first names, their last names is being captured. Any number of work objects you create, explicitly you are capturing that information and storing here. Does it make sense, guys? Yes. Sure. Perfect. So all we did here was we said, okay, I'll create one more work object now and I'll help you understand. So did we understand how exactly we created this activity? We just created an activity under the work class telling I want a new page called customer details of type alpha data customer table, this one. And in the steps what we did, when this transaction is happening, once the transaction is over, Pega is going and looking into the PY work page, picking the PY ID, setting it to customer ID, picking the first name, setting it to the first name, picking the last name, setting it to the last name, picking the age, setting it to the age on this particular page, and then city to that particular page. After once it is setting, it is saying save this data, and that is what is. Okay, so what I did, I identified what table this particular uh, class is mapped to, right? We did a test connection. Okay, so you need something called as PG admin. There is an installation video which we have done that will be explaining you details about that. So you'll need this software. You can add that and you can, query any tables you want. Perfect. And from there, I'm just coming and doing a select and I'm able to find these details. Does it make sense, guys? All we did was through post processing, we called this activity. All we did was, sure. Okay. We will come back again on that. So To achieve, the save functionality in Pega, we are using this Obj-Save method in our activity, where we are saying we want to save certain data onto a certain table. And to do that, we created a page, right, for customer table. And then, yes, we are going there. We are going there, right? So to capture that, we are using Obj-Save. Along with this, something which we have to see is, right now we just use the Obj-Save, but when we try to expand this, there are multiple options it provides. One option is right now, one option is with errors, one option is only if new. So don't worry much about it. So I'll try to explain what happens ideally. So whenever, for example, if you're using this inside a flow, if you're calling this activity on a flow action, the save comes with commit. So ideally, when you try to save something on database, it doesn't commit. What is the difference between save and commit? Save is, it's like saying I want to keep this record. Okay. Commit is confirming, confirming that this record needs to be saved. Does it make sense, guys? Save, you can treat it as you're dating someone. Commit is when you try to commit to them and say, yeah, I'm with you for good. If that makes sense, that is the understanding. Well, to be more sure, I'll do that. So, so the save part is, for example, when you try to perform a change, let us say I changed a property. Let us say F first name to, let's say it was something like Nikhil, and I changed it to Abdul, let's say. Okay. Now in the application, I can say obj save, or let us say on through the database we are telling save. If I just tell save, this data doesn't get updated in the DB. I also need to specify commit. But before this, we also have to understand something called as transaction boundary. There is something called as transaction boundary. What is transaction boundary? Within a workflow, for example, in this particular workflow, the customer workflow which we have, whenever a flow action in a flow gets completed, the commit gets called by default. You don't have to explicitly call commit. So if you see on this activity, we only have called obj save. When I'm trying to tell you, I'm telling that if you to make sure it gets committed, you have to call commit explicitly is what I'm saying. Commit you have to call explicitly. But in workflows, when you are working with any flow, for example this flow, after this particular assignment shape, when you have a flow action, once the flow action gets completed, the commit gets called by default. You don't have to explicitly call. That is why when you see, I have just called obj save and the data is reflecting here on the database. This happens only when you try to call a activity in a flow action. Once the flow action gets over, this by commit gets called by default. You don't have to explicitly call here. There is one more method called commit. Okay, there is a method called, see, commit. You can use this also, but here it is not necessary. If you are calling this activity other than work class and not as part of this flow action, let us say, for example, in this flow action we are calling, right, in this flow actions post actions, we are calling this activity, right? If you call it from here, you don't need to explicitly call commit. You don't have to forcefully tell Pega to save it. Automatically it will, once you call obj save, it will say commit. It will commit it to the database. That is why we are able to see the details here. If you call this activity somewhere explicitly, not as part of this flow, not as part of this flow action. You call somewhere. It could be a very different, unique use case, where you're not going to call it here or somewhere else for to do some small processing you're going to call. At that point of time, you have to tell, for example, here if you see in the activity, there are multiple options. If you see, there are multiple options. If this is a transaction, right? Do we agree that this customer flow is a transaction? It is creating a transaction called C8005. Do we agree? So if you are using these activities as part of transaction, then you don't need to explicitly call commit. Automatically it will be committed. If you are using activities for other services, agents, or other declarative processing, then you will have to use commit. Don't worry about that right now. Just understand that using Obj-Save you can save it. Okay, that is something you have to understand. There is something called as a commit, which you have to do when you are not using this activity as part of transactions. Okay, this is a transaction. In this transaction, commit is by default there. By default, commit is there. That is why you don't have to commit explicitly. Only if you see use Obj-Save, it will update it. Also, there is something called as option called right now. When you say right now on Obj-Save, it will perform immediate commit. In the sense, what is whenever you say Obj-Save right now, that means that you want to commit right at this step. Usually what Pega does is, when you say Obj-Save, once the entire screen's processing is over and the control goes back, it put this particular transaction into something called as a defer queue. This is not necessary, but just I'm letting you know what happens at the back end. It's completely not required, but just to give you understanding. All you need to know is to save something onto a database through activity, you will need the Obj-Save method. Okay. In the transaction, if you are using this activity as part of transaction, you don't need to commit. Okay. By default, it will take care. Sometimes, if there is error, for example, you're trying to save, you know age is an integer property, but you are saving some text here. Let us say you're writing some text here, then it is an error, right? It shouldn't be saving that. Yes or no? But sometimes you want to capture that information. It is a unique scenario. You don't have to worry. In such cases, you will be using with errors. You can check this box, and then even with if there are errors, it will still save that data onto the database. Understand that right now will commit your data as soon as this step is completed. If you don't check that, Pega will commit it when it has its own commit declared, whenever it is as part of this transaction. I would say don't scratch your head about that right now. Just understand that this particular method will help you save the data. And we saw that we can create as many work objects as we want, and that data should get persisted, right? Age 25. Okay. Tamil Nadu, let's say Chennai. And this data should persist. So we are able to create a work object and extract the customer information and save explicitly onto this table. Yes or no? Do we understand how to achieve that? Do you understand how to achieve that? Okay. So there is also one more method, which, I mean, you won't be using any of this. Obj-Save you will be using very often. These methods you won't be using, but still I will tell you that it exists. There is something called as rollback also, I guess. Rollback. This is when, for example, there are some errors. You identify some errors and you don't want to save that to the database. Then you can use this method and roll back. Means coming back to where it was previously. You don't want to save that onto the database. You won't be using it, very hardly you will be using it, and you won't be asked what this is all about. Don't worry about that. Obj-Save, very important question. How will you save data onto database? You can say through activity I can do property set on the page which I want to save the details, and then I can perform Obj-Save. Right now we'll commit the data as soon as I put that data As soon as I call this activity and this step is executed. If I don't call right now, whenever the transaction is supposed to complete, Pega by default will call save and commit. That is when this data will get committed from the defer queue. Was this understood, guys? Yes, you can do it. Yes, you can do it. Ultimately, if you see, once the submit is over, the flow has to explicitly, complete what has been specified as part of flow actions post processing, right? Pega already has given you this feature. It is telling you once that is done, what do you want to perform? As part of that, you can do it here. If you want to do configure on click of submit also, you can do it. But here Pega has already given you that. For that, you have to explicitly go and configure the button, perform a refresh or some action, and then you have to do it. Does it make sense? This is what was planned for today. If you guys have any questions, you can take. I think I do have 1 minute, I guess. Hi. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Work object, yes. Mm-hmm. Table. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. What data do you want to capture? For example, you try to take a look at your flow. Right now, you want to explicitly extract the customer information. You might need it for anything. The business is telling you we want the customer information to be captured in a different table. That time you will be creating a separate table and capturing it like this. Of course, you will be working with your database administrator. There will be a database architect as part of your application who will be helping you understand what should be the data model for your application. Where exactly will a certain data lie? What exactly, for example, this data could be used by some other team. You will have to send this to some other team. You know, at that point of time, you will be creating separate table like this. In the same way, you can create something for personal vehicle information also, right? All the personal vehicles you can extract that by creating a separate data type for personal vehicle, the vehicle information, and then you can be pulling the data and saving out onto a separate table. Yes or no, guys? Exactly similar to how we have done. And those details you can explicitly just query that table, get those details, and you can do whatever you want. For example, how many how many Suzuki Swifts have been insured in last 1 month. If you want to extract, ideally you will have to go to work table and perform lot of processing there. But if you can extract and keep that in a separate table, all you have to do is just run one query where the make type is equal to Suzuki, and then you will get those details. Yes or no? That's the idea behind creating separate tables and capturing it. Perfect. This is it for today. If you guys have any questions, you can tell me here. If the time is running out, you can ping me personally also. You can hit our link and access it. You'll be able to talk to us and chat with us, I guess. Thank you.